Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it is Your Impact Attack, and don't you worry, uh, HMG is not letting our contracts expire, so we are going to be here to bring you the best in TNA coverage. Probably, hey, don't pick up your phone. Don't pick up your phone. As
Yeah. I saw a text message from a Stanford area code. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna look at that. Or missed call.
yes, yes, the old it's the name of JTG's books. Damn, why did I pick up my phone? One and two. But yes, no, we have nothing to worry about in that category as of yet. But who are we anyway? We are the VBC. We come to you every Monday evening, night, whatever, to do this thing that we call the Impact Attack. The V in the VBC. Hello, the vet, Jamie Williams, V for vet. Reaching through the internet to tag my partner, as always, Brandon is the B. What's up, Brandon? What up, B?
Not much, man. Had a day with deliveries and did a little bit of raw watching, but yeah, pal, we're here hanging and chilling. Whoop whoop.
That's right. And of course, the C was probably with you, probably a sea of C with you. And some of these C's are here right now. I see the C's right now. Who are some of the C's that we have? Could be even more than four.
Oh yeah, we definitely got more than four horse. We got I think we got a four horseman in JJ. We got Liz, we got Labrat, we got Gam, we got Chris Winland, and we got Javi Uchi. Ha whoop whoop, y'all.
All right. Yeah, that's quite a crew. Thank you guys for joining us. And we'll get right started here with Chris Winland. I mean, he's got a question.
I think they could do something with like TNA management could go to Moose and say, "We want you to exercise option C and bring the belt back."
Yeah. Um Yeah, so the question Chris Winland asks is: did Moose not impress in his showing against Obafemi? How do they brush him aside for Trick? This is a reverse invasion, if you ask me.
Well,
Yes.
it is kind of a partnership though. Like, was like a 3-year deal.
Again, nobody knows the deal. We look this up last time? Like nobody specifies anything. Um. All right. Well, let's start with that. I already laid out, I think, back when this happened, how you could get easy, this writes itself content by just doing the scenario in which when Moose came to challenge Obafemi, he ended up winning. And now you have, you know, this sort of like, it's like a disaster. Like an all hands on deck disaster. Like, how do we let this happen? Well, first of all, how you let it happen was made the match. So besides that part, once we suspend our disbelief long enough for that, um, then you have those other things. You have like everybody that shows up on NXT from that point on can just be concerned about the fact that it's like, hey, I show up here to work and I'm trying to compete for a championship here. I shouldn't have to go all over the godforsaken small towns in the U.S. to try to win back the NXT championship. You know what I mean? And then over on TNA, you have a whole different set of stuff where it's like, Moose and his Godfather-esque role, that they're not even doing. He's just like another guy in a group now. Um, so like, but you could have had him doing that, the wrestling god type thing, and doing that and just being like holding it hostage and then seeing how that changes the landscape of TNA. It's so easy and interesting and different, but no one wants to do any of that. We'll just meh. But you want a WWE? You got to win the TNA title. Oh, sure, that's fine. And how much you want to bet Santana is not going to walk out with that belt tomorrow? They want to make it look like he's going to be the savior of the company. Do you see that happening?
too early for that. I'm hoping that what the finish is a bunch of shenanigans where you don't get a clear, decisive win, so they can run that back later, and eventually Santana takes it off him.
Right. So, anyways, it's really, you know, regardless of your opinion on the ideas and how they're being played out here, as far as what they are doing with Trick and everything, which we'll talk about, of course. Um, I mean, I can definitely argue that it probably should have gone the other way around when they had the chance to do it. So, but I'm not confident that that could have turned into good television either. I feel like just by the nature of these interpromotional partnerships is always somebody going to get the short end of the stick. So, and usually that's going to be the non WWE company. But even you see it in like so like I'll give you another example. So Brandon, you probably saw Collision, or I don't know if you did a Collision watch along.
Now we did I think HB After Dark. We did Lucha Underground.
Okay, so basically you're at this point you can't even stand to watch Collision. Got it. So they did what they did was they did like a short like highlight reel for Mystico from CMLL. You know, like, hey, look at this guy. This guy's a legend. This guy's a star. He's one of the biggest stars in ever. He's this big star in Mexico. Yeah, all the yada yada yada. It's just like, but this guy's already been on your TV several times in random 6-man, or trios, excuse me, random trios, not doing much, never featured, never in a spot that's like, wow, this guy's coming in and doing something. It's just like, oh, and look, Mystico's here with 2 other guys. Like, it's too late for the sizzle reel. You don't put you don't put that on now and try to tell me he's a legend after you haven't treated him like a legend. You know what I mean? That's just the behavior is absolutely bizarre. So I don't know what it is about people being so insecure about their own product that when you're literally bringing in people, hopefully to make you look good. Like, look who we have. But you can't let them shine. So what's the point of bringing them in? You just want to bring them in to show everybody how you can take a legend like Mystico and just put your thumb on him? Is this a flex to do that? Is that the business that you're trying to run?
There are a lot of times when it comes to Tony Khan and the way he runs it, it seems like he's really just a billionaire kid living out his fantasy of running his own wrestling promotion. And instead of having action figures, he's got actual people. Except the way he runs it and books it and puts it together is completely backwards and fucked.
Well, I mean, there's one guy and there's one legend. Now, but it's applicable. It's the same way. It's the same thing that's happening here. Of like what we were just talking about with Moose. Like, why you bring him on? Just to beat him? Great. Like what did that do for what did that even do for the WWE? Like, what did they really get out of it? What did Obafemi get out of that? A fake win and a fake match? Like, they didn't do anything with it. They didn't catapult Obafemi to a next level or anything like that.
It's like, all right, who's next?
Yeah, it didn't bring you any extra programming. You didn't get like weeks and weeks of, Obafemi and Moose promos, or you got nothing out of it. So this is just what happens when these things happen. We all, as fans, we want to see the worlds collide, so to speak. Pun definitely intended. We'll talk about that a little bit. But this is what we end up getting. Or the WCW invasion. We could end up getting that. Like, Has it ever worked out? Has anyone ever done it right?
Going all the way back, I never watched any of it, but I've never heard anything bad about the ROH CZW thing. But then again, a lot of that's kind of vague. But yeah,
and
like
look at where they are today.
Very true. That's very true. Yeah, I think even what was it when Jim Crockett bought out Bill Watts and they did an invasion, Jim Crockett had his guys completely squash Bill Watts's guys and nobody cared. Like, oh, it's a one-sided thing.
It just comes from the I guess it just comes from the old carnival grifter mentality. Because in those days, you just take everybody's money in town and then you pack up all the tents and move to the next town though. You know what I mean? Like now that wrestling is like a national commodity, international, worldwide commodity. Anybody can watch anywhere in the world because of the magic of the internet. Anybody can watch any of these things, right? So now everybody can see all this stuff. So this is like you packing up your tent and moving it like, 30 yards down the road. Everybody can still see you. Like, hey, there's those people that ripped us off. I'm not going back to that carnival. That's basically where we're at here. So, maybe at some point it's time to give people a return on their investment instead of ripping them off and moving, at some point after, maybe after 2 centuries, we'll get it. But that's basically what you have to look forward to. So speaking of that and those kind of partnerships, looking at Dave Meltzer's discussing Alberto Del Rio's relationship with WWE. It's just the perfect thing. Like for anybody that doesn't like Dave Meltzer, it's the perfect funny thing. Like where he's like, there's some people that are very, very high on him. There's some people that are very, very not high on him.
Like, gee, yeah, like we couldn't figure that out on our own.
And he says, it all comes down to one guy, really, and that's Paul Levesque. And I don't know what Paul Levesque thinks about him. Oh, good.
Yeah, the one opinion who actually matters, you don't know. So yeah,
you don't know. Dave. Sources don't tell you. I mean, I get it. Triple H is probably not sitting there confiding in all the people that leak information to you. So I get it. But yeah. So we don't know. But we do have Worlds Collide coming up soon, and we'll see how AAA fares in that. Technically their own event, kind of, maybe, a little bit. We'll look at the booking of that, and then we'll see. Like, okay, how's this partnership? Well, it's an ownership now. So what do you do now? Like, technically, if you own AAA, you are AAA. WWE is AAA. So, are you still gonna make yourself look bad? Like in the cross promotional matches, are you still gonna book WWE over AAA? Even though you are now AAA, so if they look bad, you look bad?
You know what? To be fair, I just remember something. Triple H sat out the invasion. He was hurt during that entire angle. That's when he had that quadricep tear. So, I don't think we might see something different.
I would hope so. I also would hope that he's kind of hands off on the booking of that show.
Yeah, it's pretty much like Borash, you and Conan, you just do your thing.
I would hope. But yeah, I'm saying, like, I'm giving you the reality of the situation, the way I see it, but I want to be cautiously optimistic. I want to give people a chance to do the right thing. But I'm just laying out to you how you have a history of not being able to hope for that. That's really basically it. Everybody has a chance to start fresh and go a new direction. Um,
But
and
there's a track record.
yeah, but there's a track record, so you know, just be aware of that. Um, and speaking of starting fresh, I think there's some more people that are going to have to start fresh. Um, of course, our truth made a lot of news by announcing his contract not being renewed, followed by Carlito, who, in the midst of everybody just trying to come to grips with our truth leaving the WWE as if, you know, and I don't want to make light of it in the fact of saying like nobody cares, but you know, I I know we all love our truth, but it's this is why um you have to you have to realize what you have when you have it. I don't see all this appreciation until now when he's gone already, you know? So like appreciate him more while he's there and maybe they won't feel the need to release him. Carlito's gone and you look at it and you're like, I don't to be honest, I don't know why they signed him. I don't. I don't know why they signed Carlito. Back when they re-signed him, I was like, why? You don't want him, you don't care. And that definitely played out. So Carlito has been relegated to the background guy making jokes and having everybody look at him while WWE 2K 24 or 25 is playing in the background, depending on what year it is. He's just standing there with an apple. Like he's had like 3 matches in 3 years or something. They don't do anything with him. They don't get anything out of him. It was inevitable. And today, the newest person to join the unemployment line is Sarah Logan, aka Sarah Rowe, aka Valhalla. You want to talk about somebody that's even less seen than R-Truth or Carlito. So, not surprising, but I mean, this is just, some of these things are like, yeah, I didn't even know she still worked there, to be honest. I was actually thinking about her the other day because of that. I was like, hey, whatever happened to when she took time off to have a kid or whatever, did she ever come back? Like, I couldn't remember. And Liz pops in with she hasn't been back since the latest baby.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it's a amicable situation. It's like, I'm cool doing my thing over here. You don't need me on the show. We're good.
That's right. And so I'll read you her statement.
I have not
she
read
says,
this, yeah.
huh?
Oh, I haven't seen this yet.
Okay. This is on Instagram. Dear Wrestling, I come to you with tears in my eyes because our time has come to a sudden end. WWE informed me. Wait, first of all. So you're saying you're quitting wrestling? Okay, just making sure. Because you said Dear Wrestling. But now, you were only released from the one company, so let's see. WWE informed me yesterday that they are letting my contract expire. To be completely honest, my ego can't help but be damaged. You always assume that when you end a lifelong career, there is going to be a grand exit. But here I am, using the Notes app on my phone, typing up a goodbye letter to an entity that will forget I was even there. They already forgot. I truly take no offense to this. It's like in Office Space, when he's like, they're talking about Milton. They're like, no, we fixed the glitch. Right? That's basically it. She's still getting a paycheck? All right, sorry. I truly take no offense to this. My career as it was is getting usurped by my vocation, and it's all on a divine timeline that I trust deeply. What does that mean? First of all,
it sounds like whatever's going on, whatever path she's is played in front of her, she accepts it as, okay, this has already been divinely laid out. Whatever's in front of me, I walk it.
Well, what she said was, I get that part, but my career is getting usurped by my vocation, meaning
It's, and this is my interpretation of it. It seems like taking care of the house, taking care of the kids, taking care of the farm. That seems to be the more important thing.
okay.
Yeah,
I'll definitely
what Liz just said.
yes, got it. All right. Uh I'll definitely miss you, but no, I'll be taken care of that by my wonderful husband, by the land you provided for me, and alongside the children I made along the way. I'm going to take off the weight of being a superstar and let myself soar being just Sarah. Uh, so you know, okay. I would like to caution that because she used the phrase "I'll be taken care of by my wonderful husband," which I'm sure she will. But I'm also sure that her wonderful husband is going to be one of the next people that doesn't get their contract renewed, if not outright released, because it wouldn't be my choice necessarily, but
you just gotta look at the landscape and their position in it.
yep. Not only that, but their performance in it. Like the fat guy is only getting fatter, right? And her husband is just another bald white guy with a beard. So, and he's not particularly big in shape, charismatic, good in the ring, or anything else like that. So I really don't. He's getting hard carried by the gimmick and his past accolades as a wrestler from Ring of Honor, New Japan, all the places that they've worked. Like he's getting carried by the War Machine legacy and whatever. But these guys are not like when I talk about how if you got a team like, for example, recently and relevant, the New Day, right? So the New Day could go in the ring, they can go on the mic, they could pitch products, they can do anything. New Day can do anything. They're a Swiss Army knife of professional wrestling and entertainment. Viking Raiders can't do anything. They can't have good matches anymore. They're just going to get hurt. Like I said, the one guy's just getting too fat and he can barely cartwheel anymore. It's getting bad. Yeah, 2 cheese sandwiches as far as charisma is concerned. If you guys remember when they were doing the carpool karaoke singing songs about being Vikings, you guys remember that made it to TV, you know that?
I never saw any of that.
Good. But
And
what that proved, yeah, but what that proved is that they can't act as well as people reading off of cue cards can. That's oof. That's what it is. So I'm just saying, like, again, I'm not wishing for any of these guys. I would if Triple H had another heart attack and suddenly I got the keys, the first thing I would do is, well, not the first thing. There'd be like 600 things I would do, but the 601st thing I would do is sit down with those guys and be like, all right, look, you got to get in shape because not just for this place, because I'm going to release you, but you need for your own life, for your families, get get in shape. That's basically it. So anyway, yeah. So the fans are going to have some outrage now. Before I logged on here, I scrolled through some stuff and I saw some brief mentions about people chanting for R-Truth at Raw. So you were doing a Raw watch along. Do you have anything to report about this?
I must have missed them. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I know I was kind of going back and forth between Raw and the chat, so there's a very good chance I might have missed it.
Okay. Well, I don't know if anybody else had heard it, but
that's actually a Worlds Collide like trios that needs to happen. The Viking Raiders with El Vikingo, just for the giggles.
Yeah. I think Vikingo's going to be busy that night, but maybe in a future Worlds Collide, if they still have jobs, they can definitely that definitely seems like a layup. Um. So yeah. Uh. In other news, another in other Worlds Collide news, um, Stephanie Vaquer, you may have heard of her, apparently is now officially on Raw
And qualified for Money in the Bank.
and qualified for Money in the Bank. Hey,
Look at her.
was there another recent call up from NXT that went over to SmackDown and qualified for Money in the Bank that anybody remember?
Yeah, I think I looked at her too.
Oh, interesting. Well, apparently, somebody agrees with what I've been saying for several years now. So it's really good to see that. That's what gives me some cautious optimism. You know? Um that at least somebody gets it and somebody can see it because they're looking. And you can definitely tell that they have a fast track. You know, I'm sorry. I know that Russo said that Julia was the next Dakota Kai or whatever he said. Come on. You can already tell just by the way they're treating these people that they're not going to be the next Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai, not none of these women that got released ever got anything like this when, you know, they spent they spent forever in NXT and then got brought up with very little fanfare.
And they're put into factions, whereas they're getting their own presentations.
Right. As a matter of fact, they tried to bring Julia up with Roxanne and then immediately broke them up.
You're like, nah, yeah, no, let's split this up.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And to be fair to Russo, I don't blame him for thinking that based on what they do, but it's just a fact of he hasn't looked at them long enough. I mean, my whole thing about look at her is you just look at them and you could tell, okay, yeah, you guys, that's my thing. Apparently, so it takes some people more looks. And he's never going to put anybody over really in the WWE except the people he already likes, and those are the people that just like the people that Dave Meltzer, you know, like puts over or whatever. It's the people that talk to him. So I understand that. That's just the business. But I'm just letting you guys know, like, I'm just reminding everybody, I've been telling you about these things, and now these things are getting fast tracked in ways that we have not seen. Like, I don't remember the last time somebody spent less than a year in NXT and then just got shot up into like immediate title contention almost.
Steph and Julia.
That's it. Look at them. Trademark.
And potentially Jordan Grace.
Potentially.
Yeah, jury's still kind of out on that one.
Yeah. Well, you know, Julia survived a match with with Jordan Grace. We'll put it that way. So there you go. All right. So let's see. We covered the news. We covered putting myself over. We covered what else was there? Anything else that we wanted to talk about? I know we mentioned briefly on the wreckage, we briefly mentioned the new 14th and I company getting started by Vince McMahon, and I went off onto a tirade of how he's never done actually anything ever, and this is just going to be another failure. But Brandon, what do you have? You know, what are your thoughts on that when you hear that?
Let's get the popcorn and watch this thing play out.
Yeah. Yeah, spoiler alert. Don't get too big of a bucket of popcorn, because there's not going to be that much to see. Is my prediction. Let's see.
So get a small one and a soda.
Yes, but small ones. Yeah, it's still going to cost you like, you know, $17, but
That's cool. Sneak my air fryer into the theater.
plug it into the
Yeah, I got a little portable generator, little portable
little
plug.
portable. Everybody's like,
We'd set up shop right in the theater. Be like, hey man, I'll just charge you like way less than what they're doing.
yeah.
Then I get arrested.
Then you get arrested, and that's all right. Let's see. So yeah, that's basically what we got. I don't have any other news items. Nothing really to talk about. Should we just get into the Impact episode?
Deep Impact.
It's not that deep, but I will say that we are looking at Against All Odds already this weekend.
Oh yeah, it's this Friday. Damn.
Why do I get mad when I see a TNA pay-per-view?
Because
I'm just like, I see them advertising. I'm like, man, calm down. Just chill. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, easy up on the PLEs, pal.
Yeah, anyway. Well, speaking of PLEs, we're starting off with a ketchup packet from Battleground.
Actually, more of a ketchup bottle.
What
yeah,
the?
Yeah, it's a Kroger.
Dang. That's like a whole episode. That's not a ketchup. That's not a ketchup. That's a whole episode of TNA. So save that bottle for the holidays when we have to do the recaps, like the clip shows.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I burned through all my ketchup packs with cooking fries in the air fryer because man, that thing's a game changer. I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, man, that's crazy. It's like you can go from waiting 15 minutes for French fries in the oven to like 12 minutes. It's amazing. So we get the ketchup, but then they go to the announcers for an on-camera where they're talking like somebody just passed away, and that's about Trick winning the TNA championship.
Yeah, we can argue about the execution, but at least they're making a big deal of the fact of we just lost our main world title to an NXT guy. They at least got that, try to get that over.
I'm glad that you said that because after this, they play the normal intro, cross the line or whatever. And then they do that. And then they come back. And do you think they follow up on that trick thing and the very sad, somber, this is the state of our, we just lost our dear championship to an outsider. You think they follow that up? What do you think they follow that up with? Do you think they followed up with Trick Williams? Do you think they followed up with Santana? Do you think they followed up with Joe Hendry? What do you think they followed it up with?
Tag team match, playa. But
right. It's got to be Mike Santana and Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams and a partner of his choosing, right? If it's a tag team match, that they got to be doing that, right? No. Not doing it. Well, at least it's a fatal 4-way tag team match. You get 4 times the fun.
Well, I think the reason was like these tapings took place before Battlegrounds. So they couldn't really have. I don't know. I think that's kind of what that was going with, what they were going with.
Well, that's why. I guess that's why you do pre-tapes so that you can insert the footage later. I guess. I don't run a wrestling company. I don't know. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, anyway, Rascals versus First Class versus the Fat System versus Laredo Kid by himself because the Fat System beat the shit up out of Octagon Jr. in the back. And apparently that's okay. And it's also okay for Laredo Kid to compete by himself in a fatal 4-way tag team match.
Aztec Warrior, Aztec Warrior.
Yep. Uno Guerrero. So yeah, let's setting aside the logic of that. They have the match, and of course, who do you think gets beat?
Laredo Kid.
Of course,
Or I'm sorry, Laredo. He's a man now in TNA.
Laredo Man. I'm Laredo Man.
Or just Laredo. They got rid of the kid.
Yeah. Why don't they just they should start calling people where they're from man. Like John Moxley can be Cincinnati Man.
Alabama Man.
Yeah. Yep. And they can pitch products too, like Wild Wacky Action Bike.
The bike that's hard to ride.
It glows in the dark. So that's good. All right. So if anybody cares, Trey Miguel does a Meteora to AJ Francis to knock him off Laredo's knocked out body before he pins him. So that's great. Rascals win. Yeah. So going back to the discussion about booking and Worlds Collide and everything, like AAA, Laredo's been a much bigger deal there than he has at TNA. At TNA, I swear he's won like 2 matches, and I think one of them was a digital media championship. Somehow. They're just not, I don't know, they just don't, no matter who the management is, he can't catch a break. But that's one of those things that looks bad. That's like if you're a fan of AAA, you go and you watch when these people branch out and do other things, and then you see them just in these situations. It's just very, it's very jarring,
Yeah, plus there's 6 other guys who could have eaten a pin. I'm sorry, 4 other guys, my bad.
Also, this would be like, I guess this would be like the equivalent of like I don't know, Seth Rollins going to like All Japan and losing to somebody there in a, you know what I mean? Like, it just, like, what? You didn't bring him over to win, Like, that's how TNA has looked at these guys that are big in their promotions, but, or like the Mystico example earlier. Like, not that they're beating Mystico, but, still just not doing much. So it's always weird. But I was just wanted to point out the fact that, now the WWE acquisition partnership, the acquisition of AAA partnership with TNA doesn't help Laredo one bit, like in the booking of these things. And what's up with Octagon? Does anybody know? Did he get hurt for real or something?
Okay. I'll look it up real quick.
Somebody check on Octagon Jr. So, after the Rascals win, Gabby is in the back with the Zigglers and she's asking them about it. And what's his name? Ryan Ziegler says no matter who's the number 1 contenders, me and my brother are going to be the tag team champions forever. Why isn't he doing the my brother? Like, why did he stop with the whole droopy dog thing now that his brother actually acknowledges him? Shouldn't he be getting even more obnoxious because he was right the whole time?
That would make the most amount of sense.
Oh, all right. Well, just checking. Any news on poor Octagon?
No, I have not found anything.
Did WWE let his contract expire? uh, oh, Todd says that Octagon's beat up so bad he's now Hexagon. They beat two of the sides off him. Holy shit! All right, all right. So AJ Francis is coming back through the curtain and he's selling like it's a little bit cartoonish the way he's selling. Have you if you've ever seen Black Dynamite, you know when they find the guy that was drinking the Anaconda malt liquor. Brother, do you want to go on? That it's kind of like that. Um,
I've never seen about it, but I've heard about it. And I could see AJ Francis like definitely referencing that.
okay. Well, I just figured out what your next HMG After Dark is.
Black Dynamite.
It's Black Dynamite. Um, so yeah, so AJ's coming back and he's disoriented, and then Santana jumps him. And they start, you know, they start fighting, and he's basically beating up AJ Francis, and even Casey Navarro just gets shoved away because he's not really a factor, I guess. So he just gets, you know, Santana just shoves him aside, and is fighting AJ Francis, and then mid brawl, they just cut away. It had to be something important for them to cut away from this brawl, right? That they went to. Had to be, right? It wouldn't just be they wouldn't just cut away from it like in the mid punch to just show those new girls Harley Hudson and Myla Grace and do a little profile thing with them. They wouldn't need to do that because that stuff was just pre-taped, right? So this live brawl that's happening, like we could just cut away from that, right? That's not important.
Well, as we'll see at the end of this so-called pre-tape, that's not really taped.
Or is it? Yeah, I just this
We're
happens
going meta, pal.
yeah, this happens on NXT a lot where people just get in a fight and it's so boring now. Like fights are so common and so boring in wrestling that they're just like, well, as these guys go at it backstage, let's go now to Sarah with somebody. It's like even the announcers are bored with it. This just happens. We don't even need to watch it. Don't worry. We'll just cut away from this. It's why are you doing it? Okay, well look, I'll tell you why you're doing it. Number one, and this is a call out for the entire wrestling business, because you're all doing it. Number one, you're doing it because you're trying to manufacture excitement. Because you think that people are going to not watch your show because they can't stand, anybody talking for longer than a couple of minutes. Well, unless it's the open of a Monday Night Raw. They can't stand anybody just talking for a couple of minutes without music playing underneath it, or some kind of person walking in to shove somebody and get in a brawl or whatever. You're trying to make this shit exciting, but essentially you're hot-shotting it because you're taking all your violence and putting it in backstage segments that doesn't mean anything. Two, the reason that you cut away from it once you've started it is because you don't have an out for it. Because you can't write an out for two people to have a confrontation without resorting to blows. Because you want them to say things that would make somebody want to punch somebody in the face, but you don't know how to write a scene where two guys would have a chat that doesn't devolve into violence like as professionals. I can tell you for one thing, if I got paid to fight for a living, I'm not going to do it on my free time. I get hit in the face enough for a lot of money. I'm not going to take free punches from you just because you said something slightly insulting about my career. It's just not going to happen. So it's not realistic anyway. Like none of this shit has ever been realistic, but they just didn't used to do this all the time. Can you imagine if, hey, what's one of the biggest angles of all time, Brandon? Would you say that Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant turning on him was a big angle in wrestling?
One of the biggest heel, honestly, one of the biggest heel turns of all time, biggest angles of all time.
Not only one of the biggest, literally, because it's Andre the Giant, not only one of the biggest because that was on more homes than probably any other wrestling angle had been since the invention of television, but of its importance, right? Do you remember the part where Hulk Hogan and Andre Giant got into a sloppy brawl and like 20 security guys came out and pulled them apart?
I do not remember that.
Oh,
Probably
wow.
Didn't happen.
Wow. So you mean, that Pontiac Silverdome house? Like you didn't get that because they started like throwing fake punches at each other with security? Like that didn't get the people into the building?
Guess not.
Oh. It was a long time ago. I was a kid. I don't remember. So maybe I was just thinking maybe back then they did like, a shitty brawl and then they cut away from it right in the middle so that Mean Gene could go interview Brutus Beefcake or something.
Give me Honky Tonk Man.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just don't think it works, but they're going to keep doing it anyway because they're not seeing how bad it is. But it happens at all levels. I'm not just picking on TNA. So anyway, speaking of Brutus the Barber Beefcake, I'm pretty sure that is Mila Grace the one that probably got the barber haircut? She got put to sleep and got a haircut. Is that the one?
I think so.
Okay. So they do this sort of like half-ass like profile thing where they're talking and they're showing old pictures, and there's music playing underneath, so that you know how to have all the right feelings. There's sad piano music when Harley Hudson starts to cry. So they're talking about all the sacrifices they made. Basically every single pro wrestler's life ever, but it's special that these girls went through it. And as they're doing this, the concierge interrupts for whatever reason. And I wasn't listening to what he said because I was already just checked out at that point. Go ahead.
I think he's looking for Santino.
Looking for Santino. Okay. For the sake of completionism, we have that piece of information. He was looking for Santino. I was sitting here not caring about these girls, but I was still like I was hearing them out, basically. Like, okay, what are we doing? And it was getting awkward and it was kind of bad. And I don't like when they do music under this shit because again, they're basically saying you have the attention span that you couldn't just listen to two people talking. You have to have some sort of something to jazz it up. You have no faith in your audience whatsoever. Let's jazz it up with some sad piano music when it gets sad. Shit like that, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm trying to take it in. And then this fucking guy comes in and they do this. So they want me to believe that you sat down and spent time with these women, wanted to shoot this little piece so that we get to know them better. They're new to the company. They're trying to introduce them. We saw them sitting in the crowd at Under Siege, right? Or whatever. Is that what it was? Yeah. New signees. They're telling us they're from the UK somewhere now. We find out one of them's Irish and the other one's God knows what. English? I don't know. I couldn't tell from the accent.
I think Scottish, maybe.
Okay, another Scottish. Okay. So whatever it is, somewhere over there. So I'm learning that. I'm learning about them sacrificing. I'm learning about all this other stuff. Hey, TNA has a pay-per-view called Sacrifice. Maybe they should hold off until they debut on that. So they're doing this, and I'm trying. Like I said, I'm accepting that they're doing this. I definitely would have done it differently, but I'm accepting it. But now you have the concierge come in. So now what you're doing is you're asking me to believe that a company would, like if I'm taking them at their kayfabe word, a company would set up something with them, right? Be shooting it. They'd have actual like music set to it. They'd have photos, of their past, right? Like, they've got this whole production. It's all pre-done and everything. They're shooting this on purpose. And then this fucking guy's gonna walk in and interrupt it, and they're actually gonna leave that in, like that's just gonna be part of the finished product. Like if so, like that'd be like if in Terminator Salvation or whatever they leave the part where Christian Bale yells at the guy for walking in his eye line, right? Like just leave that speech in the movie, even though it doesn't have anything to do with anything. Why wouldn't you cut this if it happened?
I think what they're like, I agree with you, but I think what they were going for is they want to make this look like it was live, and they were editing it on the fly. And
Why would anybody think that TNA could pull that off? They can't even do a live show where their announcers' headsets work 100%. What makes you think they can real time edit with music and graphics and stuff? So here's how you do it. I'll tell you how you do it if you want to do it.
I'm not saying the execution was great. I'm just saying I think that's what the attempt was, what they were thinking, what they were going for.
Right. Well, they suck. And here's how you would do it if you wanted to do this. I'm just assuming that you want to do this. You could do this profile and you could put it on the show, and then you could have an outtake from the profile where, like after you watch the profile, you get to know the girls, however you feel about them with the end of it or whatever. And then Tom can say, yeah. And then Tom can say something like, so during the filming of this happened. And then they show an outtake, like where he walks in and interrupts them or whatever, and they get mad at him. Why can't you do that? Why can't you?
And you still get to the same spot you get to later in the show.
Right. Because everybody is a fucking moron. That's why. Don't think about it for anything but Foxy. Do you guys honestly think that I came up with that idea other than like 2 minutes ago when I started talking about this? I didn't even write that down in my notes or anything. I didn't think about it. I was just annoyed that they were like trying to make me believe that the concierge would interrupt them and they would just leave that in a finished video package. It doesn't take no time to think of this stuff. No time at all. Just do it. They would have had, I'm not even comparing them to me because they can't compare to me. So but they would have had weeks and stuff to do this because they tape all these things. Okay, well, this is maybe the first week of taping, so they don't have weeks and weeks, but they had plenty of hours to do it. Not the 2 minutes that it took me. So, anyway.
Nothing compares to you.
I'll take the Prince version, rather than the Sinead O'Connor version.
I'm more of a fan of the Chris Cornell version.
Ugh, Chris Cornell. Always whining. All right, so the next thing is Raj Singh versus Mustafa Ali. Would you like to give a detailed breakdown of this match?
Ali goes over, and I will say that the salute thing they did, Delirious came from the same area that I did, and there's a faction, this one local promotion that we're in our area called the Fourth Reich, which was pretty much a Nazi gimmick. Mm-hmm. And they would do the Nazi salute, but they would have it would be 4 fingers.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm watching the Order 4 do their salute thing, I'm thinking, where have I seen that before? And remember, oh yeah, Delirious is the head booker. That's why. That's where I've seen it before.
Good connection. Good connection there. A lot of people may not have made that. I certainly didn't.
Oh, it was a local thing. That so like you it'd be like from the if you watched a certain like local
Yeah.
wrestling promotion that had that gimmick, it's like, oh
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Um, I mean, Nazis aren't cool, but I
no, they're
mean
not. But like that,
the idea of, putting that together and using that. Um, yeah. Well, I guess a bigger story here that didn't feel like that big of a story on the show. I mean, they made more of a deal out of the concierge walking through somebody's pre-tape than they did for this. But after Ali hits a 450 and they continue the good hands, the great hands just continue kicking the shit out of this guy. Um, and Tasha gives Ali the, I don't know, I think it's been enough, and he like grabs her by the hair, like he grabs her by the back of the hair, like, bitch, don't you ever touch me. And I'm thinking like, okay, that's good heat. At the same time, though, I know that this is a different gimmick, but this is Tasha Steelz. Is Tasha Steelz gonna sit there and just be like fine with this domestic abuse?
yeah,
That's not the character that I've seen.
yeah, the Barrica Badass ain't standing for that shit.
No. So I don't know. I don't know about this. It's a little extreme for this. I think this early to do this little with it.
Agreed. Unless they lean heavily into Stockholm syndrome, I can't see this making any sense. And even then, that's
we didn't even
the character.
Yeah, we don't even get it. We don't even get like we don't even really get the story of how a Stockholm syndrome would even happen. That would mean a lot more because back when she joined, like she didn't take
board.
that much convincing. Not really. It was their typical wrestling, like, well, you lost a couple matches, so you're completely despondent, and I'm here to save you. Like, that's not a story. That's not writing. But yeah. Yeah, do you just stop, Todd? Do you just stop being a Bariqua badass sometimes? Is that something you could lose? Like, like if you have like a stroke or something, you lose the feeling in your arm or the use of your arm or stuff like that. You just lose being a Bariqua badass. Is she not Puerto Rican now because she lost a couple matches back a few months ago? I don't know how it works. I'm not Puerto Rican, so I don't know if you could lose that. I'm not sure. Maybe. Oh my God, maybe I was. Maybe I was born Puerto Rican and I lost it. Brandon, did that happen? And no one told me? There's a reason Ray loves me so much.
I don't know. Maybe he's got a little like a internal radar that you guys got something little stuff that you guys can detect with each other.
Okay. Well, I'll see if Carlito can book me now wherever he goes. Daddy daughter talk. We got a pre-match little pep talk, and daughter has a surprise for daddy. She hooked up a special referee, Jimmy Corderas.
I thought that was cool. Like, not good for Jimmy.
Yeah, good old Jimmy Corderas. So we got that to look forward to later. Gimmick injury report time. Octagon, as we saw him get the shit kicked out of him, but excuse me. That injury is to be determined. How long he'll be out from whatever that was.
Which means whenever it's storyline or booking convenience for us to bring him back.
Right. So, like, if he did have a legit injury that prevented him from competing in the match, they could have used that here, and they chose not to. Is basically what I get out of that. But good old Burt Macklin is cleared of his skull fracture, so he's good to go for later. But remember, we already knew last week that he wouldn't be cleared for you know, under siege, but he would be cleared for sure in time for this match. So we had the psychic prediction that he'd be cleared, and he is. Came true. It would be funny though if they said, we know that Santino said he would be cleared by this, but Santino is not a medical professional and he is not cleared yet, so we'll have to postpone the match another week. And you could do that because this was taped. So you would have had the match at the same time anyway, and you could have shared it, like you could have put it off for another week and it would have been the same thing. It wouldn't cost you anything. Again, just thought of that right this second. Took no effort for me, but they had time. They could have thought of it. Hey, remember that guy, the concierge?
Oh
Well,
yeah, that guy.
yeah, he's gonna do an introduction for Ash by Elegance, and this was funny to me because Ash does that thing where she like looks at a fan and then kind of does the talk to the hand thing to them. Um, and she did that to this one guy that never once looked at her, and he was like on his phone the whole time. Like he just wasn't selling it. He was just on his phone. Wasn't even not even on his phone like I'm recording this. Like on his phone like, oh shit, anything's more interesting than Ash by Elegance. And she like did the hand thing and he wasn't looking. So that was funny. Um and she's taking on Lei Ying Lee. So any thoughts on this athletic contest between these two strong women?
Went a little long, but other than that, I thought it was all right.
You think this went long? For Ash by Elegance? One half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions to get beat? You think it went long? I was thankful it didn't go long. I was surprised they didn't put a break in this. Um. Anyway, yeah, Lei Ying Lee debuts a new sort of finishing move. It's some sort of airplane spin torture rack thing. Torture rack, airplane spin neck breaker, something. I don't know. They didn't. The announcers didn't know what it was called, so they just said there something is. I don't know. I don't remember what they said.
What a maneuver!
Yeah, what a maneuver. They didn't even say that. They could have said that. They didn't say that. Masha Slamovich came out with a microphone just to say, I'll see you at Against All Odds. Shook her hand. Okay. This whole Masha Slamovich coming out with a microphone to say one sentence and endorse an opponent. I mean, it's a way to go, I guess. I mean, it's one way you could do it. Uh,
Like you couldn't have the Team Elegance beating down Lei Ying Lee, and then you have Masha running for the save, and that mutual respect going.
no, they're busy, as we'll see. The rest of them, I mean. Um, but before we get there, we have Santana's NXT adventure, where they recap everything that he did when he went to NXT last Tuesday. So, then now they've been telling you since the beginning that Trick is going to be on this episode. The new TNA champion. We'll hear from the new TNA champion. We'll hear from the new TNA champion. And of course, we don't hear from him for like a lot of the show, because again, like I said, we got other more important stuff to do, like a 4-way match and yada yada yada. So anyway, here's where we finally get Trick, and guess what? It's like a mailed-in pre-tape of Trick Williams saying, but he is addressing this, saying that he could not possibly. He's not on the he's on a level such that he cannot possibly be seen in a town like Brampton, Ontario, Canada. They're not rolling out the red carpet for him, so he's not going to be there, and he's only going to be there when he feels like it. So and TNA is getting a rebranding. That's basically what he's saying. Trick NA. It's Trick NA now.
Chicken ain't easy.
No. And then Tom Hannafin is completely indignant about this. He says this is complete bullshit. is what he says, or at least that's what I assume he said. I think they bleeped it, but um, yeah, he just can't take it anymore. So he's got to let everybody know that, get his shit over. I it's like this is like Josh Matthews level of fakery. Like, I don't believe for a second that he's even the slightest bit mad. Why should he be? There's a lot more stuff he should be mad. He should be more mad about Octagon Jr. getting beaten up and the system suffering no repercussions. He should be a lot more mad about the two new girls getting interrupted for no reason. He should be a lot more indignant about all this stuff than another guy winning a championship that, you know, he had a 50-50 chance of winning. So, Mance Warner versus a local, Bryce Hanson. Nothing to see here. Steph DeLander gets on the mic and basically warns Burt Macklin that they're coming for that international championship. Rosemary has a promo. It's got effects and music underneath. And she challenges Zaya Brookside to a Monsters Ball match.
Yep, because and the story is that the way Rosemary explained it is that she's got Zaya. She's like one last step before like she can finally embraces the darkness, and it's Monsters Ball.
And then we can get Dark Zaya.
Dark Zaya.
Which goes from an angel to a devil.
Do we already got one of those on Raw though, pal?
Look at her.
Look at her.
Yep. She never had to be an angel to start with. She's an angel as it is. She's an angel as a devil. All right. Here we go. This was probably the centerpiece of the show, I guess, if you would say that. Even though we had a championship match later. But this was the Morellas versus Robert Stone and Tessa Blanchard. No, not Tessa Blanchard. Because she has TMJ. And the first thing I thought was, well, this didn't show up on the gimmick injury report. way to have an injury report.
Hopefully it comes with that, Todd. Hopefully
yeah.
it's like part of the whole going dark package.
Yeah, let's hope. So anyway, we have a suitable replacement for Tessa Blanchard. Now, all this stuff I'm about to say is going to take like 1/20th of how long that it took for Robert Stone to say it. I'm definitely truncating a lot of this stuff. So Victoria Crawford is going to sub in for Tessa. The match can't go longer. There's rules for the match. They can't go longer than 10 minutes. Because Jimmy Corderas, he doesn't trust him. He's got Alicia Edwards as the backup ref. And also, the Cobra is banned from the match. So, anyways, there's your setup. And that took about 10 minutes.
I like this idea of the system working with Robert Stone.
Mm-hmm.
He needs muscle. He needs enforcers, and having them within TNA, I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the crumb of something. I don't know if it's from a larger piece of bread, but there's definitely something you could do with that. Okay, look, this match. I'm sure, Brandon, you can understand what I mean when I say this match was indie-rific, right? That being said, like, if the match had a level of execution, like a certain level of execution, it would have been great. Because what they wanted to do was your standard, like, crowd pleasing slash heat getting spots and match, right? So it would have done all the business it needed to do. Just not that great in the ring part of it, particularly on the part of the ladies, I'm sorry to say. Um, but, you know, is what it is. I saw what they meant to do. But anyway, yeah. So Jimmy Corderas, of course, gets bumped. Uh, Santino's taken out. Um, and they hit Victoria hits a scissor kick on Ariana, and Robert Stone is sure to get the pin on her. So, nice touch. They got everything done. It took a long time, but it, you know, I don't really have a problem with it. Not just because, like my Santino family connection or whatever. It's not that. It was just gosh darn it, they tried.
Yeah, the intent was there, the idea, the thinking was there. It's just execution, not quite.
Yeah, and as for your comment, Todd, like thinking back on that time period, can you blame her? So here's our Moose sighting. It's during an Eric Young promo. It's another one of those things where now this is what you're kind of talking about, where you want it to seem like it's live, right? Like this is a live thing with Eric Young, and then Moose walks in, right? So this would be an example of that, where supposedly he's talking to these people with the Northern Armory, and then all of a sudden here comes Moose saying, hey, you got lucky. But it's actually Moose sort of challenging Eric, like, I beat you for the TNA championship, and I'll beat you for this X Division championship. So go to Santino and make the match.
I can't help but get vibes from this that they're going to do like a Heart Foundation thing with the Northern Armory, where and the system where like the system where the baby faces in America, heels everywhere else. Northern Armory or heels in America, baby faces everywhere else, especially Canada.
Yeah. Also, what was that thing that Eric did when everybody else left?
I don't know. I want to say it might lead to something with him just kind of reaching a different level of going crazy, because it was picked up on and acknowledged by the announcers.
Okay. Well, it's time to debut a new Elegance member. This is why they weren't around earlier when the other half of the tag team champions got her ass kicked, quite literally, by Lei Ying Lee. Because we needed to get ready for M by Elegance. And then here comes the former Maggie, whatever her name was, looking pretty much more or less exactly the same as she always did, except she has a dress on.
A little bit more
So
makeup. That's about
yeah,
it.
yeah, but like even the makeup was like,
Still pretty subdued.
yeah, it's like the natural look ton of makeup, right? Um, so yeah, so of course what's going to happen is, because you can't have a setup like a little table and champagne and this is basically the first class penthouse. They just did the first class penthouse. So see, now this is where I would, if I was writing shows, thankfully not. If I was writing shows, I'd be like, okay, so next time that we get a chance, AJ Francis needs to have something to say about this. Like, you took my stuff and used it for your stuff, and get heat with the concierge.
Or what if they did like they introduced her on a penthouse segment?
Ambushed her on a penthouse segment. It's like, this stuff look familiar? And then he can get extra heat on him because they let those new girls that they interrupted come out, get on the microphone, absolutely die. This was one of the worst things I've ever seen in terms of like cringe awkwardness, like as far as people not caring at all. Because I bet you anything, those people did not even see that pre taped thing. Like that was probably not played for them in the house. So they have no idea who these people are or why they're out there. And they're not from there. So you can't just be like, oh, they're local Canadians. No, they're from fucking England and Ireland or whatever. So, uh, so this absolutely died until they just threw champagne on Maggie, which of course they were going to, right? And she sells it like she's never touched anything wet in her life.
And of course, the heels don't jump the baby faces, even though they outnumber them.
Right. Yeah, the champagne has like a stun lock effect where you can't move. Um, Heather's not going to do anything. She's a cheese sandwich. She's going to be like, at least it wasn't me. You know. So it's like, yeah, this is all pretty bad. Even the crowd, even when she threw the champagne on her, like the crowd didn't pop that much. See what I did there? Champagne pop. Anyway. Um,
Ew.
yeah. So yeah, bad. Just like everything with elegance and this concierge guy is bad. He's bad, actually. Actually bad. And everybody in the elegance crew is bad. And these girls, I don't know what they're like in the ring yet. And it's not so much their microphone speaking abilities are bad, but they had no clue how to do this because I guess they were under the assumption that people should know and care who they are. And nobody had the patience for them. Like if Seth Rollins comes out and cuts a long, boring promo or whatever, like where he could get to the point a lot faster. In addition to that, supposed to getting heat, also the people know who Seth Rollins is, so they're like more with it. If two people you don't know come out and try to take their time with something and try to set something up verbally, no one's gonna have any patience for that. So they should have just came out, said a couple of things real quick, and threw the shit in their face and got out. So
Yeah, like nothing segment.
well, it's time for the main event. Burt Macklin versus Matt Cardona. Right before Macklin goes out, Tommy Dreamer gives him a pump up speech. Like he's got to protect TNA from the outsiders, I guess, like Matt Cardona.
Yeah, I think they're trying to build Macklin since the TNA World Title is now on an NXT guy. They're trying to build Macklin's. Okay, you're Mr. TNA now.
Don't lose our belt to a no company guy. Don't lose our belt. Don't lose our belt to the Figures podcast guy.
I can't help but think the long game with this is eventually it's going to lead to title versus title, Trick Williams versus Steve Macklin, and Trick Williams goes over.
Gross. Fucking gross. Also, a Steve Macklin match now, like this match. Don't care. Never want to see a match less. I would honestly rather watch Maggie or M and Heather by Elegance versus the New Girls. I'd rather watch that because that could be like Botchamania at least. Macklin and Cardona are just competent enough to be boring. So I don't care. Was I wrong? Was I wrong to not care?
Not really, no. I mean, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion who's going over in that one.
It would have been great if Cardona did win. It'd be great if TNA loses their belts to everybody that's not there. Wouldn't it? Just have an AEW guy come down and beat somebody too.
How's that for a rib, pal?
Yeah. It'd be great. I'd love it. We did make sure that Bert could kick out of radio silence, though. We got to get that in. Just let me bury your finisher real quick before you fuck off again. Just a little bit. Just let me kick out. Just let me kick out of it.
So let me kick out, pal.
Just let me kick out. Can I kick out of the KIA? No.
No, can't roll to the side and put a hand on the ropes or hand or foot on the ropes.
No. Just no. Just please do the job and leave. Thank you. All right, well, and still your international champion, which remember is just a repurposed digital media championship, and it means about as much. Burt Macklin. And then our final scene is Mike Santana. He's leaving the building now, and apparently he's on his way to NXT on Tuesday. And he's gotta start walking now because that's like 1,000 miles from Ontario to Florida. So he'll probably be getting there in about, I don't know, like 8 to 12 more hours. Probably he'll probably arrive at the PC. He's going to be very tired, and that's probably the excuse that they'll use for why Trick beats him, because he had a 1,000-mile walk to get here, and he's not in shape to compete.
He's want to say he can be the man who walked 1,000 miles, pal.
Yep. To lose, to do a job to Trick Williams, and then
he'll walk 1,000 more.
Yeah. Then next week on the Gimmick Injury Report, TNA could say, Mike Santana out indefinitely. Corns and blisters.
Maybe a wart or two.
Just Lab Rat's getting the muffins. I don't have any muffins. I'll just starve. But I mean, that's TNA for you, and then we're gonna have to watch another secondary pay-per-view deal with Against All Odds. They laid out the card, and I didn't really pay attention, but you can kind of tell just from what we talked about some of the stuff that's going to be on it. So
yep, and we'll be doing a watch along of that this Friday, pal. Whoop whoop.
All right. Well then, with that being said, I suppose there's nothing else to. Is there a punch up? No.
No, not this week, unfortunately.
Okay.
Apologize.
That's all right. We did enough punching on the fly here. Explain their job to them enough times that I think they'll get it. But, anyways, I suppose it's back off to finish Raw tonight, or?
Yes, sir. In probably about 15, 20 minutes, finish there up, pal.
All right. Well, that's where you can find Brandon very shortly. Where can the people find you for the rest of the week?
Let's see. Rest of the week, I'm usually on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, the X at LG Brandon Whoop. I'm also on Twitch at twitch.tv/LG Brandon Whoop Whoop, kind of sporadically throughout the week, but always guaranteed on Wednesday after the HMG AEW Dynamite watch long and belt count. As far as tomorrow goes, we have a late start for NXT, a watch along, which will happen right after a show goes off the air. Then Thursday, we got an Impact watch along. Friday, like I mentioned, Against All Odds. Saturday, we'll be doing Money in the Bank. And then Sunday, HMG After Dark. And Black Dynamite is definitely in the queue. I'm not sure where, but we've been having some fun with Shorzy and Lucha Underground. I think we might continue Shorzy this week.
I think you should bump Shorzy for 1 week. Probably do that. Mix things up, just give a little variety.
A little bit of flavor.
Yeah, and you have and something you haven't seen, because I'm sure you probably watched Shorzy already.
This season, I've only watched once, and that was several years ago.
But you watched it.
That's true.
All right. Well, you can find me at Opinion Haver everywhere. The HMG shows. We'll cover the NXT portion of this madness on Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern with Big Ray Hernandez on the Next Level Wrestling Review. You could check out all the AEW coverage if they send anybody down to beat somebody for a TNA championship. Over on Directage every Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. With myself and Jimmy T. You could check out Wrestling with Rip Rogers every Friday. You could check out Stevie Richards every Friday. You could check out Timmy Baltimore every Wednesday. And they are all eagerly awaiting your presence. So please say hello to all of them. Say hello to my little friends. And with that, I believe we're done for tonight. Thank you all. For Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.